So, when I was in my addiction, I'm still battling with it. Obviously, I just relapsed, but I was just going over something in my book here that I did in rehab, and it's talking about fantasy and reality. And yeah, that's a big thing for a lot of people in addiction. I mean, would be for everybody in addiction, I guess, because we all believe that in our own little world, everything is okay. And if everything is okay, then we don't have a problem, right? I mean, that's the way I used to see it. I never used to think I had a problem, that's for sure. Um, but I had to come to realize that uh, it was fantasy because there's only two ways out of addiction: either you get help or you die. And I was on the other end of that, the death, so close to the death's door. Part of that, it was not me per se, but I mean, if you've seen my videos, you understand what I'm talking about with Melissa. That was the hardest thing I ever had to deal with, but that was what showed me that I had a problem. That's when I realized. Uh, Now, let's go back a little bit. I realized beforehand that I had a problem, but when I realized I needed to get help was that day. Um, uh, when I realized I had a problem was I got arrested and I went to jail and I did 10 days in jail and I detoxed while I was in there, and I was so sick and so sore and so just not in good shape. And I knew I had a problem then, but for some reason it went on for another couple of years. Um, but I never would have imagined it ended the way it did uh, with Melissa. But I I do know that things do get easier with time. Not necessarily better, but easier with time. As you see, the drums are in the background now because they're in my living room now. Well, in I guess the old dining room area. But anyway, sorry, rabbit holes, getting off topic. But in my fantasy, I thought that Melissa and I were good, that we were gonna be together forever, um, that we were gonna grow old together and have a back porch that our grandchildren came to visit us with, and things like that. But that didn't. That's not how life worked. Um, uh, it's hard to go through addiction, but in my reality, I realized that that's not how life works. You can't be in addiction and have the good sober life at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Um, you can't have your grandchildren or your kids coming around if you're always high and they don't know where you're going to be or whether you're going to be alive or dead or stuff like that. They just can't see that. So yeah, fantasy and reality, guys. It's a big thing. You got to get out of fantasy and live in reality because reality shows us that addiction is not good. I mean, I can count at least 20 people on my friends list in the last little while that have passed away from overdoses on my Facebook friends list. So that's just around here in Peterborough. I mean, that's a crazy, astonishing amount of people that I know have passed away in the last couple of months during this whole pandemic. And not because of the pandemic, but because of ODing or drug related deaths. So let that statistic uh, hit you there and sink in because that is truth. We in Peterborough, we are pretty lucky. There's not a lot of people who are sick here, so we're pretty lucky that way. It's been contained pretty well. Everybody's been staying home, but yeah, 20 people have OD'd since it started. That's a pretty sad statistic. So if you need help, reach out. There's lots of places to go. Um, that will take you. Just I can't say um, anything but the best things about the Village of Hope. If it wasn't for that place, I wouldn't be here right now. Uh, I don't want to plug the Village of Hope for them, but I mean, I kind of do because they saved my life. So, anyway, if you guys need help, reach out. You can look up the Village of Hope on their Facebook page, the Village of Hope, or you can, they have I think they have an internet or a web page too, so you guys can look them up either way. Alright, thanks for watching. Easy.